Hello, welcome back, guys, to the Canadian Political Channel. And today I want to talk about another topic which I've been touching upon a lot lately, and that's regard to the child support system. Now, I know it's a very contentious topic in general, so there's going to be a lot of biases on either end of the spectrum. But essentially, I'm trying to deliver this information in a way that seems rational, practical, and does not try to favor to one side or the other. When I refer to sides, I'm talking primarily about the people paying child support and those receiving child support. Now, a big theme that I like to go on about is with regard to the inherent unfairness of the system. The way the system is built is actually inherently unfair. Essentially, it treats people that pay in a way that almost resembles a form of punishment. And it's interesting to think of that way because we live in a society where everything is supposed to be equal. We have women's fighting for women's rights, women fighting for women's rights, men's fighting for men's rights, women going for equal pay and equal treatment in the workplace, regardless of gender, background, ideology, and so forth. But the problem with the child support system is that it really treats one parent unfairly, while the other one gets essentially rewarded financially, and the government participates in the extraction of those funds to the other parent. Now, I know a lot of people are going to get all their butt hurt now regarding what my statements were, saying it's for the it's for the kids, it's for the children. I mean, how dare you? How dare you? You try to take it away from the children? I totally understand that. The issue here is not that we're trying to take away from the children, or that I even think you should take away from children. In fact, I think kids need to be taken care of. They need to be they need to be they need to be given care, food, shelter, clothing, amenities of life, entertainment, and kind of given the best start to life so that they can grow up and hopefully become independent and also productive members of society. Now, the issue is not necessarily that, but the issue lies within the fine print, and this is where a lot of people simply do not care to think about more than surface level details. Now, the problem is surface level details are great, but surface level details can be very deceiving. Okay, so in a nutshell, basically, if a child lives with one parent more than 50% of the time, in most cases, or primarily with one parent, so let's say the mother has the child pretty much all the time, except maybe every other weekends and and Wednesday overnight for supper or something like that. That would, if you actually went through and added up all the sleepovers, and that's kind of what the courts look at. They look at how many overnights are happening here, and they do a percentage based off of either monthly or 30 days. If one parent has them 15 days overnight and the other parent has the other one 15 days overnight, or roughly around there, it's considered half and half, right? 50-50. And therefore, there's not a lot of support exchange except with regard to equalization, which I believe is also unfair once it reaches a certain point, and I'll get into that in a second, which is why there's so many things that need to change. I mean, I think they have the gist of it right to some extent, but on average, they seem to get a lot of things wrong, and those things that they get wrong may seem small and trivial, but they're causing massive oppression against primarily men. And I say men because, yes, a mother can pay child support just as much as a father can pay child support to the other parent. For example, take a look at Britney Spears, who had to pay $20,000 to Kevin Federline per month, $20,000 per month. Now, there's a female paying a male, right? Okay, so it's not really a gender issue. But the issue comes down to the amounts that are given. Okay, so if you look at the amounts that are given and the incomes of both parents, basically here. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how it's conducted, right? So they basically just look at your incomes, right? So they look at parent one, parent two. What much money do you make? Unless one parent has the most of the time. So you can be an every other weekend father or every other weekend mother or whatever. If you have them less than, say, 40% of the time, you're paying full support. So they don't really care about the other person's income. They won't even really ask. And they do so, it'll be done just to make you feel better about it. That hey, we're getting all the financials information here, but it really doesn't matter in the end because they basically punch your numbers into a table, the federal support guideline table, and they look at how much you owe based off what you make, and it's a gross amount. And the numbers are very, very high. Essentially, they're very, very high and unreasonable, in my opinion, especially when you look at the income of the other parent. So if one parent makes a lot of money, but has it most of the time, they're still getting a lot of money from child support. They're essentially making bank. So if you are a man or woman and you want to pay less support, I'm going to say go for 50-50 and get as much time with your kids as possible because that's literally the only thing that'll save you. Otherwise, you could be paying someone who makes $150,000 a year, over $1,000 a month, if depends how much you make, right? And paying them, even if they don't need the money, and they clearly don't, you're paying them a fortune. And that money that the other person is receiving could just take that money and do what they want with it. And that's the other problem here. So if you have them 30% of the time, every other weekend, a couple days here and there, but it's kind of steady, you're still paying the full amount unless it reaches those 40%, 50% thresholds, which is ridiculous because if you have them 30% of the time, that's a good chunk of time. You're gonna require overnights, sleeping arrangements. You're gonna require food and shelter and other costs, right? Even if you have them 1/3 of the time, the courts don't give a damn about that, and that's one major injustice. They don't care if you have them a substantial amount of time. 30% is substantial in my eyes. So is 25%. 10% you're starting to get into, well, that's you hardly see the kid, and obviously 0%. I believe you should pay the full amount because you're not helping the kid at all. But there's also a lot of nuances with that. The major problem here is the zero accountability. Someone receiving the child support doesn't have to report to anybody on that money. You're basically running a lottery ticket. If you check out my video that I did about how Canada is essentially, the government of Canada is basically extorting people with this system. And a lot of it's just due to laziness because they don't want to track it. But I think they need to build some digital systems. They need to build systems where the mother or father, whoever's receiving that money, needs to upload receipts, upload expenses, reports on a monthly or every 6 months or with their tax returns every year, even once per year, to prove where that money went. And they have to be on essentials, clothing, food, schooling, medical, things like that. Not non-essentials. So if a mom decides to buy a child $1,000 pair of shoes, that's unreasonable. Okay, so there should be certain things in there that are marked as reasonable that every child needs. Shoes, for example, there should be a limit saying that okay, the average shoe should cost say $75, and then if a mother spends $400 on the shoes, that's unreasonable, and she won't get reimbursed for that, and that'll actually strike against her. Right? There needs to be systems in place, and with the modernization of technology and the internet, and everyone having a smartphone in their pocket, it's very easy. And I don't think it's very much to ask for someone receiving money to prove where it's going. In fact, I think it's the right thing to do. And a lot of men and a lot of people paying the child support, and I'm going to say men loosely here because the facts of the matter is that about 85% of support awards are awarded to the mother from the man. So you can argue left and right and center all day long that this is not a gender issue, but it is gender biased in the sense that most men are the one paying large amounts of child support. Now the amounts that are often given are absolutely unreasonable depending on how much money you make. And there should be basically baseline amounts, and basically it should be set in a way that once an income exceeds a certain amount, the child support essentially reaches the cap. Okay, because the basic requirements of a child, it doesn't mean like let's say you're together with your wife or your significant other, and you make a lot of money. It doesn't mean you're going to be sending a fortune on those kids every month, right? You might be investing in the future. You might be putting investments in that maybe when you pass away, you want to pass those savings on to your kids in inheritance, or maybe you're working on a business or side hustle, or you want to spend that money in other ways, and you don't need to buy the kids $1,000 shoes and treat them like Richie Rich. The government is basically forcing you to spoil your child if you are well off, and that goes against one of my primary beliefs that as a parent you should have the majority say in how your child's raised. So the system really needs to there needs to be a lot of reform in the system to make these rights to right these wrongs. So absolutely, you should have to prove where that money is going, and if anyone's paying support, they understand the frustration and contention that can happen because one person is essentially very entitled. Give me the money. I don't need to prove where it's. Basically, they're saying, give me the money. I don't need to prove where it's spent. I don't give a shit because the government will back me up on it. And it's sad but true. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna keep these videos at 10 minutes so I can do more videos and more videos. Do you think that people receiving child support need to be accountable for it? I 100% believe that they need to be. And the court saying that it's too onerous or it's too much work for them to track is ridiculous in a modern era of technology where systems can be built and put in place to ensure that the money is being spent properly. And if it's not being spent properly, or if it's well above and beyond reasonable numbers, then those numbers must be capped. Okay, guys, so if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really want to make more content on this because this is a huge issue in society. No one's caring about it. No one's looking at it. Thousands of men are suffering, mostly men are suffering from this issue. The courts need to change. There needs to be reform in this country. It needs to happen within a reasonable time frame, because if this continues for a few hundred more years, trust me, there will not be any more marriages. There will not be any more children, because men here will refuse to have kids. And those immigrants that are coming in having kids will catch on eventually to the system here, and they'll stop having kids as well. It's a downward spiral that's not going to end well for Canada, especially here in this video, because I'm Canadian. This is a Canadian video, but it's going to happen across all of North America and Western civilization as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think it's unfair? Do you think it's unfair that someone can receive thousands and thousands of dollars, over hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of a child's life, and not have to prove where a single cent of it goes? I think this is wrong. I think it goes against the rights. I think you're stealing from the fathers primarily, and transferring that money over to the mother. It's absolutely wrong. It needs to stop. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye for now.